It's family. It is it's a structure that I think I need in place to be successful. Like
A talk between two or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. Conversations have the power to inspire, teach, and uplift. Here, we are all about inspiring you to follow your dreams, use your gift, and walk in your purpose. I'm your host, Opiyemi Ifufore, and this is Conversations with Opie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. My guest today is the beautiful Shalela Dowdy, and today we're going to talk about sisterhood. I just think she's the perfect person to talk about that with, because she is someone who is involved in Delta sorority, as well as just being involved in community ties and really encouraging togetherness and supporting one another. So welcome to the show, Shalela.
Thank you for having me, Opie. I'm glad to be here, and I can't wait to dive into our discussion today.
I'm excited as well. So I want to get right into it. As I just mentioned, you're a part of Delta, and I want to know what motivated you to join the sorority.
So as Opie said, my name is Shalela, or my full name is Shalela Dowdy, and I've always been interested in joining a sorority, specifically a Black sorority, since being in high school. So just seeing, I had interaction with women of the organization. Of all four, there's four Black sororities. I've had interaction with them just growing up, and just I knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of. They were leaders in the community, and educators. A big aspect of those members are that a lot of them are educators. So I would interact with them and run into them while I was going through my K through 12 experience. So it was just something that was always on my radar, even when I was applying to West Point recently, maybe a few years ago, or maybe even months ago. I was looking back at like old messages I was sending people that were at the school. I have an aunt that's 4 years older than me that went to West Point. And like one of the first things on my list, I was like, are there sororities there? And I forgot that was on my list. Even while I was a senior in high school, I was aiming to, go to college, excel, but then also be in a sorority. But I love the aspect of sisterhood, and you can get that even outside of a sorority. And so I just always wanted to be able to experience that within the sorority, because I have it outside the sorority. But then just be a part of an organization filled with women who are movers and shakers in the community. So like the first Black woman to be in Congress, Shirley Chisholm. The first Black woman to run for president on a major political party was Shirley Chisholm. Mm-hmm. You have the first, and Shirley Chisholm was a Delta. Mm-hmm. The first Black woman to be in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, was Kara Mosley Braun, and she was a Delta. And we have Deltas everywhere. The mayor of Atlanta is a Delta. We have 7 women in Congress who are Deltas. The mayor of St. Louis is a Delta. So it's just like, I saw them as the women who were leading. And even outside of us, like the first vice president is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And they have pioneers within the organization who've done great things. So just wanting to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself and filled with great women who happen to be Black doing great things.
Right. So what does sisterhood mean to you? How would you define that?
So sisterhood to me is really, it's love, it's compassion, it's always having a support system and someone to lean on. It is being willing to uplift your sister and uplift others along their journey, and being motivational entity for others, being someone who is inspired by their sisters and someone who can be the inspiration for others. It's family. It is it's a structure that I think I need in place to be successful. Like I can definitely contribute sisterhood, whether it be the sisterhood from my adolescent years, the sisterhood from my collegiate days, the sisterhood to serving in the Army, to the sisterhood that I'm in now. I can contribute all that or attribute all that to my success of where I am right now. I don't think I've made it. There's so much work to still be done, but I attribute sisterhood to helping me get to where I am today.
You mentioned that sisterhood doesn't even just happen in like joining a sorority. It happens outside of the circle, outside of a sorority. How would you advise others to start a sisterhood of themselves, even if they're not going to join a sorority? Because like you said, it is a family, and some people may not come from a strong family background. So how do they begin to reach out to others and start a sisterhood of their own?
Okay, so I'm the oldest of 10, and my mother has 10 kids, so I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters. So I could say, hey, my sisters themselves are a sisterhood, but my family, we aren't as close knit and as together as other families I've seen as I would like it to be. And so, you know, if you happen to not come from that, you want to know what to do, just surround yourself with women, with like-minded individuals and like-minded women who have similar goals as you do, a similar mindset as you do. Put yourself in those environments. Now that we're kind of going back outside, now that COVID is not as crazy as it was when it first happened, because we have the Delta variant right now. Events, go outside, stuff in spaces and places where you are able to meet new people. Join organizations that are doing work and doing things that you are passionate about. Literally, when you put yourself in the room and in those spaces, sometimes those friendships and bonds and the sisterhood, it forms on its own. But you have to make the effort to put yourself in those spaces, because if you don't, you can miss out.
Mm. What is one of the things that you've learned from networking? Like, what's the most important thing that you've taken away from being able to network? And like you said, putting yourself or introducing yourself to organizations that are out there.
What I've learned is, never be afraid to know that you can contribute something to whatever room that you're in. I'm saying go out and do this and do that, and you may feel like you don't fit in or people are more accomplished, but we all bring something unique and something different to the table. And so what else I would say would be to follow up. So you're meeting these people, whether you're exchanging business cards or doing what we do now, follow me on Instagram. Make sure you follow up with those people that you meet. And if there's someone who you see as forming a friendship with, or maybe they becoming a mentor or they can be a mentee to you, because there can be people that are accomplished and they can be your mentor, or they can be a mentee, or even if you are in a mentor-mentee relationship or friendship, know that it's a two-way street. You can't always go to the mentor for information. You got to pour into your mentor as well. So the follow up and the building on that friendship, keeping in contact and reaching out, because what I've seen is I'm noticing people are not really great with maintaining the friendships and because people have asked me for stuff, unfortunately, related to Delta, and I haven't talked to them in 10 years. And I'm like, well, media, you can reach out through there. You can schedule a coffee date, or we can go out for dinner or brunch. And that's what I'm noticing. People are not sincere on the authenticity of these working relationships and friendships. And that, I say, that goes to, because with Delta, you got to know a Delta to come in, and they got to vouch for you. And so for me, it's people I haven't talked to in years, people who haven't said anything to me outside of that. And so seeing that they're doing that in that aspect of life, I know it's being done in other aspects of life. And you don't always have to reach out to people because they can do something for you.
Right.
They can just have a period, and they can just be somebody that you want in your life, and that you want to bond with and grow with and connect with. So definitely, when you're putting yourself in these spaces, follow up with people. And that's what I've done. I've met people at events. I might have even went to an event I didn't want to go to, but I knew certain people were going to be in the room. I might have paid the registration fee for something. I'm like, I could have saved this money, but I'm like, I'm putting myself in the room, because you might not know who you will be impressive to. So yeah.
I can definitely attest to that. I think you have a very inviting just aura about you. And to me, it seems like you're not afraid to put yourself in a room and say, hey, I'm here, and just talk with people. But not a lot of people have that confidence to you know, they're maybe more introverted. They're not as open about how to communicate with other people. But I think you also hit on a very valuable point that when we talk to people or build relationships, we can't just do it because of what we think we can gain from them. Like, what are you bringing to the table, and how can we sustain this relationship if you really genuinely want to start a relationship with this person? Because at the end of the day, communicating with other people and benefiting from conversation is going to take us to greater heights. But if you're just doing it that I just want to see what I want to take from you and that's it, then that's where it ends, you know? And even if they get something from you once, they're not going to get it again, because you know that's not coming from a place of genuine, you know, interaction. Right.
And some people can see right through that.
Yeah. it shows, like, yeah, I don't know about you. So you talked briefly about that if someone even wanted to join Delta, that they have to get basically recommended from someone who was already a Delta. Did you join in college, or was it after?
It was after. I was on active duty, so I went to undergrad at West Point, for the listeners, or the United States Military Academy. So Delta does have a chapter there, and it was chartered in 2001, and I was there from 08 to 12, and we weren't able to, you know, stand up anything, and it kind of died off because you need members of the organization to help with your process. Okay. And 9/11 kind of right after that chapter was chartered, and the base got locked down. So the desire for Delta kind of died down because a lot of Black people that come to West Point don't know what the Divine Nine is. So the 4 Black sororities and 5 Black fraternities are a part of the National Pan-Hellenic Council, and they make up what we call the Divine Nine. And so, you know, I sought Delta out while I was while I was in college. And it's crazy, people fall into your life for a reason. So my sponsor, when I signed up for a sponsor at West Point, I signed up for a sponsor. I went to the 8-day picnic. I met a Black woman, and she was like, "Oh, I signed up for a mentee. I really like you. Like, we need to make sure we match." And I'm like, even if we don't match, we can exchange phone numbers. Right. My sponsor now. It happened to just be coming to West Point, starting her teaching experience at West Point, and she was a Delta. And she was a major then. She's a colonel now, still in. And, you know, I just learned from her and learned what I could from her, because there's certain stuff you can't tell people. So even when I expressed interest to her in wanting to become a member of the organization, you know, she drilled me and was like, why? Because some people can't answer why they want to be a member. And so I feel like she just like fell in my lap, and I just got to watch her walk in her excellence. But Delta was always something I wanted to do. So when I first entered the Army as a second lieutenant, I was at Bolick Basic Officer Leadership Course in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I reached out to the Deltas there, the grad chapter. And I reached out like, hey, let's go. And I knew I was only there for 6 months, so it really wasn't much I could do if I wanted to join, unless they were happy to be having a line at that moment. And the vice president was I think she was a retired sergeant major, or she was still in. She just invited me to her house, and she was like, they were having an event. Do I want to come? You know, it's military, it's Black people. I felt comfortable, so I'm like, yeah, I'll pull up. So I came to the event, and I just networked and talked with the women. And when I left with like 3 or 4 phone numbers, you know, so I can keep in touch with them and grow. And I attended some of the events that the chapter had while I was stationed there. And there was one friendship that came out of that. And it was a woman named Twanisha Jones now. And we just kept in touch over the years. I visited her whenever I happened to be in the Oklahoma area. I played a role in her wedding. And we just built a friendship to the point where, you know, when it was time for me to seek Delta, I reached out to the chapters in El Paso, and it's all about timing. They don't have lines all the time. So they happened to have a line when I was deployed. And then I came back to El Paso, and I'm like, okay. So then I still stayed in contact with the Deltas. So I went back to Oklahoma. Then I went to South Carolina, and I connected with the Deltas there. So, you know, I kept up the effort. You know, I was being put in new communities. but the Greek community is the Black community. So wherever I was stationed, I also was embedded in the Black community and volunteering and doing work there. And when it was time for me, when I did have the opportunity to seek a mission and apply, the Delta that I met in Oklahoma when I first graduated from West Point 6 years later was the one who wrote my letter.
Wow.
And so it was cultivating and building on that friendship of when I first met her. And it wasn't because of, I didn't keep in touch because of Delta. I went on a girls trip with her to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I was in her wedding. So, we obviously kept up, our conversations and kept in touch. And she was able to see that I would be a great contributing member to the organization and felt comfortable writing about me. Because the issue is, if you don't know people, how can you write all this stuff about them if you haven't kept in touch, if you don't know what they're doing? So
exactly.
I sought Delta after college, and it was 6 years later. So it was in 2018, and I graduated in 2012.
Wow.
And then I think everything happens for a reason, because the chapter had the first president of the chapter I came through. The chapter president was the highest ranking woman in World War II, and she was a lieutenant colonel, and her name was Charity Early Adams. So I still ended up coming through a chapter in Columbia, South Carolina that had military ties. So
wow. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a great example of just just being yourself, because you didn't do anything that was outside of the box or with a motive like, oh, this is all I have in mind. You were just creating relationships, genuine relationships with all these women, and it sustained you for many years, more than 6 years now, and building real connections with people.
Right. And I think that's what it's all about, even outside of sorority talk, building connections, and those connections help with growing those you surround yourself with, growing the Black community, and us uplifting one another.
I couldn't agree more. What do you believe your purpose is?
You have what you think your purpose is, and then the higher being has what your purpose is. But I think my purpose is aligned with helping people. I really don't know in what entity, so that's why right now I'm gonna apply to law school. I majored in pre-law at West Point, but helping people and being a voice for people who can't be a voice for themselves or don't feel comfortable doing it. And so hopefully I'm able to do that through law. I want to practice civil rights law. And eventually, at some point, I do want to run for office. And when you are an elected official, you are representing constituents, and you are the voice of the people of that district. Mm-hmm. So I feel like something along those lines, using my confidence and me being comfortable. I run my mouth a lot, but I get nervous too when it comes to talking. But using my voice to advocate on behalf of others, and the fact that I'm determined to play a role in fixing any issue if I see something that's within reach of me possibly being able to influence some positive change where it needs to be. So yeah, I think my purpose it lies somewhere within that realm.
What office would you like to run for, and where would you love to represent?
So, by the way of my grandfather, Alabama happens to be home, but my mother was born in Boston, Massachusetts. So if she happened to have stayed there, I would be repping the Northeast. But back in the late 70s, early 80s, unfortunately, my grandmother was on drugs. And so my grandfather had went to Boston, made a few babies, went back to Alabama, but he went back and got my mother to take care of her because my grandmother wasn't able to. And Alabama is what I call home. And when I thought about it recently, I was like, dang, I really have my grandfather to thank for me being like, Alabama is home. Now, Alabama isn't perfect. It isn't a progressive state as some other states are, but there are pockets in the states that is progressive. And that's kind of like, that's really the issue with America, or not the issue, but that's really what America is. America, the rural part of the state of the country is more conservative. And then those big cities in those states are what happens to be more liberal and more progressive. So saying all that, I would want to run in Alabama. Just growing up in Alabama from birth to 18, it's home. And then now that I got off active duty, I've been home more. I'm in Alabama right now. I just see the need for us to have voices, because a lot of times if you live in a red state, a lot of seats go unopposed. Like we had two seats I know for sure for Congress, two congressional districts only had Republicans running in it. And it was in like the rural parts of the state, kind of. There was no Democrat running against them. So, just being willing to be the voice. Now, running for office is expensive. So, if you ever have somebody that run, donate $5 here or there, because it can be costly. Because that's another reason why we don't run. Some people can't afford to run. And just all that, my long-term goal would be Congress. Even though Congress is a bit stressful because you get elected and then 2 years later you have to run again. So it's kind of like you're never off the campaign trail. Senate is 6 years. But with Senate, you need the whole state. And just knowing Alabama, it's going to take a while. So I would realistically say Congress in the first congressional district. So that's the lower part of Alabama. That would be a long-term goal. And so leading up to that, city council is an option, even possibly even mayor. And the issue with mayor, though, I would only be mayor of my hometown, because people don't know who's their state representatives are, who their Congress people are, who their U.S. senators are. Like everybody know the mayor. So that's a smaller position, but that's a stressful position. Mm-hmm. So I would consider city council, but that would also depend on once I graduate from law school, be claiming it. Where I live when I go home, because there's certain districts there's certain city council districts in my hometown that a Black woman, I don't want to say won't win, but they're predominantly white and predominantly Republican. So it's depending on what part of my city I live in. And so also being a state representative. So I don't know if you know the breakdown of the political world, but each state has Senate representatives. So a state representative is
Congress. Yes.
Right. So actually after law school, I'll either probably run for city council or maybe one of our state representative seats to get that experience. I don't necessarily think I'll hop right into Congress.
We all have to start from somewhere and build on the experiences, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that would be amazing. And I can't wait to see how you progress through everything from law school to running for office. Hey, who knows? You can go all the way to, the executive office. We never know.
Oh, see, the way America's set up, I might have to fight the American people if they come for me sideways. So I'm just not.
You're not gonna be like, I'm just gonna be a lawmaker. Let's just keep it there. And
executive, state level executive. So that's governor or mayor,
maybe. Right. It was so nice talking to you, Leela. Like, thank you so much for all the information that you shared with me today. And, again, like the importance of sisterhood, a lot of us are lacking that. And just knowing that just building natural, genuine relationships is important to our growth and to, it benefits everybody. It's not just, outsiders, but it's also benefiting yourself. So thank you so much for sharing all that with me today.
Oh, and thank you for having me. I think sisterhood is just a great topic to talk about. Honestly, for me, it's a topic that I don't have to think much on. Like I live and embrace it daily. So you made the conversation easy for me. There was no preparation. I didn't have to prepare.
See, that's why I said you'd be a perfect guest. I know exactly who I want to talk to about this. So where can everyone keep up with you and on your work, on your studies, everything? How can we keep up to date with you?
Well, y'all know we all on social media. So on Facebook, my Facebook page, I have two, but I'll give the one that I can add people on. I need Mark Zuckerberg them to get rid of the friend limit. But it's Shalela Victoria, so SHALELA Victoria. And then I have a page that you can like that I need to do better at posting on, and that's Leela Victoria, the like page. And then Instagram is Leela V89, LELAV89. That was my Twitter, but I got suspended for music, posting workout videos with music in it. So they hit me with the old president moving. I got suspended. So my new Twitter is Leela Fierce. I done had to start over, and I had my old Twitter since 2009, and I had like 3,000 followers, and it's hard to get followers on Twitter. So where you can follow me on Twitter. And then I have a website, and it's leelavictoria.com. I blog about whatever I'm passionate about. So you can go follow me there as well. And I just appreciate you having me. I've enjoyed the discussion, enjoyed the conversation. You've made me reflect on sisterhood because I feel like I should have a more defined definition of what sisterhood is for me. But it's been great. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. Thank you everyone for listening and joining us in today's conversation. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.